Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to part 5 season 1 of What If Toga Was a Hero. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the story. The leader of the operation to attack the USJ site was on the floor. Rage filled his eyes as he stared at the young woman who knocked him down. She looked down on the villain with disdain and an overprotective rage. Her skin melted from the villain's persona, shifting back to her own flesh and blood, revealing her true self. Her bright golden eyes pulsated with furious anger, while Midoriya and Asui paid attention to the scene. Namu, attack! A large deformed beast of villainy sped into the action and reached out its hand towards the woman towering over its master. She witnessed this grotesque demon and fell to her side to dodge such an attack. Her arm was caught by the monster and he flung her towards a boulder near them. She braced for impact, but Midoriya caught her mid-air as the two hit the rock together, cushioning the impact. The Namu picked up Shigaraki, who scratched his neck and cheek, almost making himself bleed with each scrape. His scream hollered throughout the facility. What the heck is that thing? I don't know, but it looks strong. Asui went to go find help, so we're the only ones here. It's Sue. Toga grinned as she told her comrade. He laughed nervously and agreed that he needed to remember that. The two ran over to Aizawa, who was badly beaten and unconscious. They needed to protect him until help arrived. Namu ran over and went to punch Midoriya, who punched Namu's fist with his smash, but something happened. Midoriya's arm didn't break. Himeko noticed this. As she was distracted, Tamura raced over quickly and reached out his hand towards her, but she managed to avoid it. Unfortunately, Shigaraki reached over with his other hand. She managed to grab his arm, but he was relentless in his effort to kill her. At this exact moment, Namu grabbed Midoriya's arm and broke it. A loud crash was heard in the distance. The pro hero All Might entered, but he was not smiling. He looked determined yet filled with anger. Everyone stopped their attacks and craned their heads over to him. Have no fear, students, for I am here, he said in a serious yet powerful booming voice. He threw away his jacket and untied his tie. Couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong when 13 wouldn't answer my calls. So, I hurried over, running into young Ito along the way, who told me of the villainy that was going on here. The students were more than joyous to see the #1 hero here to protect them. Izuku on the floor after Namu had let him go. He watched as All Might moved over in Namu's direction. He took out any villain in his way and carried Aizawa all in the blink of an eye. At the same time, almost in a second's notice, the pro hero grabbed Himeko and Midoriya and placed them down near Aizawa. Toga was astonished at the feat of incredible speed. She looked over to Midoriya and held his arm in worry. Shigaraki walked over to the hand that was on the floor and placed it on his face like a mask. He stood there in disbelief at what had transpired. He was sure that things were going well, but maybe it still could. He did still have the Namu. All Might, that bird villain, took one foe. He looked over to Himeko before letting out his secret. That thing took one for all. And Izuku didn't break his arm, she interrupted Izuku. He was in shock of what he heard, but it was not the time to overreact. Young Midoriya, young Toga, I got this, he said confidently. The two nodded their heads and grabbed Aizawa to get him away from the battle. Sounds reminiscent of thunder could be heard as they were walking away with Aizawa in their arms. How did you know about one for all? Darling, you suck at keeping secrets. You told Bakugo and I overheard it, she said casually as she smiled. Oh man, you're not gonna tell anyone, right? He asked politely. Izuku, I like you enough to not betray you. Her face blushed immediately after saying such a thing. Midoriya looked back at the ensuing battle in worry. He watched as All Might had the Namu in a suplex, but something was off. The Namu was piercing the side of All Might's injury. Himeko and Izuku saw that he was in danger and one of them had to do something, until they heard something behind them. I warned the others of what's happening. Most of them are together, but I can't find Bakugo, Kirishima, and Todoroki. The two sighed in relief. I think they'll be fine, especially the idiot with grenades for hands. Midoriya looked at her, then looked around, hoping Bakugo was not around to hear that. Sue, you and Midoriya can take Mr. Aizawa to the others safely. I can go and help All Might out somehow. No, you're not going. I'm strong enough to help him. I can just take him while you two can figure it out. Ribbit. Sue grabbed the raven-haired instructor and hopped away. The two of them watched as she took him away. They looked to each other for a plan. It looks like it takes orders from that handy man, she said to herself. The two then figured out the plan quickly. Wait, what if I can get close enough to the handy man and tell the Namu thing what to do? Then that means I can get to the Namu and break its grasp on All Might. They both nodded at each other and dashed over to the fight. Himeko ran faster than Midoriya to get to Shigaraki's location. A dark portal rose in front of her. Her eyes widened while it seemed like everything was in slow motion. Deku used one for all in his feet to jump over to Toga and push her out of the way so she would not be affected by Kirigiri. Suddenly, an explosion covered the Shadow Quirk user's dark essence. Get the hell out of my way, you idiots. Naruto What If channel. Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called We The Celestial Naruto What If. We The Celestial Naruto What If mainly focuses on our Naruto What If series. If you are interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. Bakugo grabbed the cylinder casing inside Kurogiri and slammed him to the ground. Himiko skidded on the floor with Izuku on top of her in an unsavory position, covered the ground before reaching Namu, encasing all but the arm holding All Might in ice. One of your poorly trained thugs told me you're here because you wanted to kill All Might. All Might loosened the Namu's grip and jumped out of his hold. He stepped back while Kirishima jumped in to punch Shigaraki, who left his position and dodged. The red-haired boy slammed his armored fist into the ground. Damn it, that was gonna be cool. Guess I caught your body that time, you smoky bastard. The symbol of peace will not be defeated by delinquents like you. Himiko and Izuku's eyes lit up to see some of the strongest classmates here working together side by side. Geez, Bakugo, took you long enough. I almost thought you weren't brave enough to come and fight. What was that, you freak? She giggled, having poked his buttons, but something about this was different. Almost as if it were not insulting yet just friendly banter. She lowered her head and smiled warmly. Kurogiri, how could you let this brat get the best of you? You've gotten us in a real jam here. Ha, you got careless, you dumb villain. He kneeled over to the casing of Kurogiri's metal alloy. It wasn't hard to figure you out. Only parts of you turn into that smoky warp gate. You thought you were safe from me, but this thing attached to your body. Kurogiri tried to struggle, but Bakugo used tiny explosions to warn him of his demise. Don't move. You try anything funny and I will blow your ass up. Got it. They'll be cleaning you up for weeks. Ooh, that doesn't sound very heroic. They escaped uninjured and captured 2 of my strongest men. Kids these days are really amazing. They make the League of Villains look like amateurs. Toga walked over behind a rock and spared her moment of silence by sneaking towards the back of Shigaraki. She used her needle glove to puncture his back for a quick sip of blood. She managed to evade his attack and leave his area of touch. I think I got enough. The Namu was being sucked in by the portal, but removed itself from the grasp of the black cloud. It broke the ice covering the right side of its body. The Namu's limbs regrew. In awe and horror, the students in All Might's minds raced to the next possible course of action. We need to free our method of escape. Get Namu. Shigaraki pointed to Kurogiri and Bakugo and ordered Namu to get his comrade back. The Namu raced at sonic speed to attack Bakugo. The resulting punch was massive, but there was only smoke left. Bakugo. In a sharp instant, Himiko thought something had happened to Bakugo. She dropped to her knees, but as soon as she did, how the hell did I get over here? Well, you dodged it, Kirishima added. No, I didn't, idiot. Bakugo looked over to where he was and back to Toga on her knees, almost mourning him. He furrowed his eyebrows, then looked away. She got back up and looked over to All Might, releasing gas from his body. He was starting to turn back to his weaker state. All Might blocked Namu's punch and saved Bakugo at the same time. These are kids and you didn't hold back. I didn't have much choice. He was threatening my companion. Besides, these kids are not angels. The girl, she tried to kill me while wearing the face of a henchman, then took some of my blood. If a hero does something like that, you think you can get away by being as violent as you want. You say it's for the sake of others. She lowered her head in shame as she heard him call her out on her actions. Well, you know what, All Might, that pisses me off. You sound like a lunatic. Criminals like you always try to make your actions sound noble. But admit it, you do it because you like it. Shigaraki smiled under his glove. The student stood there before Himiko stepped forward. I can stop this. I can just turn into him and call the Namu thing off. Yeah, besides, we can take them on with All Might's help. Let us do this. Don't attack. Get out of here. The muscle-bound pro-hero refused help from his students. He needed to take matters into his own hands and protect his students. He would have been in trouble earlier if it weren't for me, remember. You need our help. Thank you for your assistance, but this is different. It's gonna be all right, just sit back and watch a pro at work. You need help, I can just about. As she was going to interfere and help him, All Might put his hand out in a stop motion. Toga knew he wanted to stop her, but she couldn't just leave him to fight that thing. He couldn't win. All Might gave Toga a thumbs up. Trust you can make the smart decision. She stepped back confused but smiled. The Namu approached All Might with incredible speed, and All Might followed up running at high speed, clashing fists with the creature just as Midoriya did earlier. The two titans exchanged blows back and forth at faster and faster speeds. Himiko could barely stand with all the wind power being blown from the scuffle. She fell back as the wind knocked her down, but Bakugo caught her as she fell. Get back up, idiot. Don't tell me you can't handle a bit of wind. She rolled her eyes but picked herself up with the help of Class 1A's demon. She planted her feet on the ground and watched the fight. She saw how All Might took each blow but gained enough of his power to counter and beat his opponent 10 times worse. She was paralyzed with amazement. This could be Midoriya one day, she thought to herself as she was watching All Might use all his energy to defeat the Namu. You may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean. Go beyond. Plus, Ultra. He punched the Namu in the gut, making it fly off into the air. She glanced over to Midoriya and Bakugo, who cheered on All Might like the fanboys that they were. The building was shaking. The ground was trembling because of the impact of the blow. That's like a finishing move in a video game. He beat the shock absorption right out of him. I've never seen that kind of brute strength before. Imagine having power like that. That's All Might for ya. Everyone commented on All Might's ability as a pro hero. He, however, was at his limit. Surrender now and come quietly, this is your last chance. All Might ordered the villains, but Shigaraki could not stand his plan failing. No, you're not weaker at all. Look at what you did to my Namu. Damn it, don't tell me I was lied to. He was frightened. The #1 hero stood tall, but really his body cannot handle it anymore. Except the dark clouded quirk user encouraged the villain. Tamura, Shigaraki, please do not fret. Look at him, he is weakened. Namu's attacks were successful. He's on his own. The children seem to be frozen in fear. And look, our underlings are recovering. You're right, this is it. We have no choice, we must do it now. The big end boss is right here. He began to run towards All Might while the #1 hero was stuck in place. In an instant, Deku flew into the air by smashing his legs to reach All Might's location and protect him. Himiko knew what he was doing. He was trying to buy some time. She ran behind him and improvised along the way. Unfortunately, a portal arose in front of Deku as Shigaraki's hand popped out to disintegrate him. A gunshot was heard and the resulting bullet pierced the villain's hand. The pro heroes were here, and they saved the day. Himiko ran to Deku to comfort him while he was on the floor with his legs and arm broken. As everyone was distracted and the two villains made their escape, All Might's form was breaking down and turning back into his original self. He looked deformed, and Toga remembered what he said earlier about making the smart decision. She ran to All Might quickly while everyone was distracted on what was going on. All Might, give me your blood.